Good afternoon. This is the Torah on Parashat Vayikra. Parashat Vayikra is the first parsha of the third book of the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses. It is dealing primarily with the sacrifices, different korbanot sacrifices the people bring. And Hashem is commanding the different types of offerings, one of which, for example, is an elevator offering, and instructs how the offering should be, which animals and which birds it's allowed. The second chapter is dealing with making of mikvah offerings of flour, how they're done and their significance, and during the Yantivs, there are various sacrifices that can be made to honor Hashem in the Yantiv, and Hashem's Yantiv. And there's another chapter dealing with what the various sacrifices that have to be made if a person unintentionally commits a sin. Interestingly enough here, why is the animal sacrificed? One of the reasons given is that, realizing the seriousness of what they've done, they see the korban, the sacrifice, being slaughtered and offered, when really they should have paid for it with their life, but because was unintentional, they are not. It deals with the sins of both the individual, the community as a whole, the king, the courts, and the third one deals with various types of the next type, in the fifth and final chapter, is the sacrifice has to be brought for various coming into pure things in contact with ritual impurity, and it concludes with these various types of sins that a sin offering has to be made for. And what I would like to focus on today is the first verse of the Parashat, which reads as follows. Vayikra Vayikra El Moshe V'Daber Adonai Elav Ma'oel Moed Lamor. He called to Moshe, meaning God. And Hashem spoke to him from the tent of the meeting. That's the name of creation, the ultimate name of Hashem, saying, and then it tells him that he has to speak to the children of Israel and talk about Albany Israel. V'shir mata elehem adam ki karav makem korban l'Hashem min ha-behema min ha-boker min ha-tzon k'rev el v'chechem. When man shall bring you an offering to Hashem, children, say when a man should bring an offering to Hashem, you should, from animals, from cattle, from flock, you should bring your offering. Now, quite a few interesting things about this first passage. First of all, which I want to focus on, it says, Vayikra. The aleph is small. Now, nothing appears in small or bigger letters without a purpose. That is question one. Also, the whole wording is unusual. Only when Hashem commands Moshe and tells him a mitzvah, commandment that the people have to do, it would normally say, V'daber Adonai Moshe Lemor, and say, and then tell the Bnei Israel what to do. Now we have a different wording, Vayikra el Moshe, and then it says, V'dber Adonai Elav, and speak of him. And that says to Moshe. Moshe has already been mentioned, so why do we have to say he's been spoken to him again? Ma'oel Moed, more to say. So why this unusual language? Now, I'm going to give a couple of explanations of the Pasuk on the level of Parashat. The word Vayikra comes from the Shorish, Karada call. And Hashem wished to speak to Moshe. He's honoring him, purposely called to him. Now, then when Hashem speaks to Balaam, the evil prophet, later on, there's no Aleph. He has to speak to him. He doesn't speak to, God speaks to by Balaam, but not with any love. He's doing it to save the Jewish people from his curses. So what does the Aleph tell us? By making it small, it almost looks like the same word, because Moshe did not, being the most humble of men, which is why he merited the Torah. He wanted to include an Aleph to show Hashem, to show love, but Moshe didn't want to be, was too humble to do so wholeheartedly. He received a public sign of that love of Hashem, so he made the letter Aleph. That's one explanation. But the Aleph, they say, can be a separate word, and it's coming to teach. Teach, implying ones that should always be small and humble. That's the second explanation. And who can teach this was Moshe Rabbeinu, the most humble of men. And it then says Ma'oel Moed, which we don't normally say. Was to teach that the Jewish people that in other words is the collective building of the Yoel Moed that was contributed to by everybody, even though Moshe settled it. That prophecy, we can only be, they have the responsibility of prophecy. And this is the show, we mentioned all night, to show that Hashem's presence is going to rest among them. So this also teaches people a high level of holiness. Now that is on the more Parashat basic level. I'm going to give a couple more explanations, one of which is from the Rekanati, the early Upron, from about 500 years ago. And he explains that when it says El Moshe, Lemora Elav Hashem, because we're talking Hashem is the name of Kavod, and is to teach that Moshe alone is going to be spoken to by the great, the mighty name of Hashem, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, with which Hashem created the whole universe, and which guides the universe's main name. And it's also teaching us something else. Who's calling? right? Because it's called to Hashem. Who's he? It's the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is the presence of Hashem that, as I've explained in previous Devar Torahs, has always been with us. There's this presence of the Shekhinah even today at the Kotel, the Western Wall. There is a presence that never left. And that, so because he's using the big name, the letter Aleph is to indicate the special privilege he's giving, and the Aleph is to indicate, as I said, the Shekhinah, which is a name in itself. It's explained, it also means to teach. So why does it say, so why is it telling us the Shekhinah? Because it's telling us, building on what we said before, it's the prophecies coming from the Oel Moed, because the Shekhinah occupies it, and that's where Hashem speaks from. From his kavod, and that's the second meaning of the Aleph. It's the Shekhinah and the honor that Hashem was speaking in personally, even though, as we said, there was in the previous explanation, this collective, even though it's being done collectively and it's the responsibility of the people as a whole, still Moshe is in a very special place. Now, before going to the next explanation, we have to look at the context of this, when this is occurring. The three parshas ago, the Jews that committed the sin of the Egel Zahav, denial of God, and saying this idol brought him out of Egypt. It was only with great effort by Moshe that was Hashem willing to forgive the people. However, according to many explanations and sources, to make up for that sin of the Egel Zahav, golden calf, they had to build and contribute to a Mishkan. Now, even though Hashem did not wipe out the people, means all the men from age 20 to the 60 military age men that were not Levium, tribe of Levi, that's Avera still occurred, was still present, even though he had been forgiven. And Moshe, in his greatness, was supposed to be at a level above the rest of the people and the prophet, and that's also signified in this pasuk. Because it says, Vayikra Moshe v'debei elav ma'oel moed. The moed has the gematria of kuf kaf. Let us kuf, kaf's 120. And that's to explain there's sifurim that is explaining that what is that teaching us? It's Chaser 1, the little Aleph is saying that there should be 120 forms here, but there's only 119. And as Rav Shimshon from Astropoli goes on to explain, there's 120 different aspects to Hashem and his name Elohim, which represents more justice, strictness, and those 120 also represent the years of Moshe Rabbeinu's life. However, if you take one from 120, you only get 119. And why is that the case? So to indicate the fact that one was taken away from Moshe. Now Moshe at his level should have received and should have been able to connect to all 120 forms of the name Elohim. In fact, he was only able to connect to 119. One was taken away, not because of anything he did, but because of the sin the Jewish people with the Egel Zahav. That one level was taken away from him, and before the fate, Moshe would have been able to get complete shlimut. He would have had everything. In other words, he would have said all levels. And that's the symbol, another symbol of the Aleph. Also, there's a concept which we're going to be coming to as we reach Pesach, that there's 50, levels of Bina, of wisdom, of divine knowledge. Now, originally, Moshe was supposed to receive 50 levels of Bina, of wisdom. However, again, because of the sin of the people, he only received 49, had a slight remnants to the 50th. We notice there's 49 days from Pesach to Shavuos. It's also dealing with the 49 levels of purity was supposed to go to, which ties into Sefer Vayikra very nicely, as well as the 49 levels of wisdom. We will then go up and receive Shavuos, and therefore the Salaf is also indicating that there were also one of these, and as explained by Rav and Shmuel in the Gemara, because of the Chait, they went neither Moshe could not receive it, not because he didn't deserve it and should have, because the people weren't at that level. And however, just to explain, Moshe Rabbeinu, again, this is not personal, because as the Rav Shimshon Ashapoli goes on to explain, he had the ability and the kelim to see all of that, to get that nevuah. In fact, the fact that he could get that level and he could communicate with Hashem word to word, the only prophet, none of the Avot, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and neither did any prophet after Moshe have that. The word Moed teaches us that he was supposed to have 120, and he got that which made him great in prophet. And the one that he missed was, again, not his cause, was the affair of the Jewish people. As we're moving towards Pesach, when we may all purify ourselves and reach a very high level on the night of the Seder and the first day of Pesach. Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom.